Shahrud Missile Test Range, northeastern Iran, Semnan Province, 2 in the morning. 320 operators from the 75th Ranger Regiment were moving through the cold desert darkness across the flat scrubland terrain surrounding the Shahrud Missile Test Range, the largest ballistic missile research, development, and final assembly complex in the Iranian arsenal. Shahrud was not a simple production facility. It was the nerve center of Iran's entire ballistic missile program, the single location where every major Iranian ballistic missile from the Shahab series through the Khorramshahr and Sejil programs had been designed, assembled, tested, and certified for operational deployment. Destroying Shahrud would not set back one missile program. It would set back all of them simultaneously. American intelligence had monitored the Shahrud complex for 8 years through satellite coverage, signals intelligence, and human assets placed within the Iranian Defense Industrial Base. 2 intelligence sources inside the Iranian Aerospace Industries Organization had provided partial facility blueprints, security protocols, and shift schedules that gave American planners the internal layout needed to assign assault teams to specific objectives. The Shahrud complex represented Iran's most concentrated investment in ballistic missile capability. Eliminating it in a single night would remove years of accumulated expertise, specialized tooling, and irreplaceable engineering infrastructure that Iran could not rapidly replace regardless of available funding. 8 years of intelligence, 1 night to use it. 320 Rangers moving through the Iranian desert toward the single facility, keeping every Iranian missile program alive. Subscribe, you will not want to miss what happens in the next 4 hours. The Shahrud complex occupied a surface area of approximately 4 square kilometers in the flat desert terrain of Semnan Province. Unlike the mountain-buried facilities at Fordo and Eagle 44, Shahrud was primarily a surface complex. Its buildings spread across the desert floor, with only the most sensitive assembly and storage areas partially buried beneath reinforced concrete. The complex contained 7 primary facilities. The main missile assembly building stood at the center, a massive structure 300 meters long, 80 meters wide, with a 3-5-meter interior height sufficient to accommodate vertical assembly of Iran's largest ballistic missiles. Inside, 4 parallel assembly bays ran simultaneously. Bay 1 handled Shahab, 3 and Ghadr medium-range missiles. Bay 2 assembled Khorramshahr intermediate-range missiles capable of reaching targets 2,000 kilometers distant. Bay 3 handled the Sejil solid fuel program, Iran's most advanced indigenously developed system. Bay 4 was the most sensitive, dedicated exclusively to the Fatah 2 hypersonic glide vehicle program, Iran's newest and most technologically sophisticated development effort. 240 missile engineers and assembly technicians worked rotating shifts across all 4 bays, supported by specialized tooling and computer-assisted assembly systems that had taken Iran's aerospace industry 15 years to develop and acquire. The propellant mixing and loading facility in the northwestern corner handled liquid propellant components under controlled conditions, storing 12 tons of nitrogen tetroxide oxidizer and 8 tons of unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine fuel. Adjacent to it, the solid propellant casting facility manufactured solid rocket motor grains for the Sejil and Fatah programs. The guidance and electronics laboratory on the eastern side housed the engineers and equipment responsible for developing inertial navigation systems, terminal guidance packages, and electronic warfare suites for every Iranian ballistic missile program. This laboratory contained Iran's most advanced missile electronics expertise, 2 decades of accumulated irreplaceable capability. The missile test stand facility on the southern edge featured 2 static test stands where completed rocket motors were verified before integration. The warhead integration building on the northern perimeter handled final mating of warhead packages to completed missile bodies. The underground storage complex beneath the central assembly area held 23 completed ballistic missiles in various stages of readiness, awaiting transfer to operational IRGC units. The IRGC Aerospace Force and IRGC Ground Force jointly garrisoned Shahrud with 500 soldiers in 6 companies. The first company of 100 soldiers maintained the outer perimeter fence line with guard towers at 150-meter intervals. The second company of 90 soldiers provided close security for the main assembly building. The third company of 80 soldiers protected the propellant facilities. The fourth company of 70 soldiers secured the guidance laboratory, warhead building, and test stands. The 5th company of 60 soldiers guarded the underground storage access points. The 6th company of 100 soldiers was the Rapid Reaction Force, held at immediate readiness in barracks adjacent to the assembly building. Air defense coverage reflected the complex's strategic importance. 6 Bavar 373 long-range batteries surrounded the complex at 8 to 15 kilometers, providing layered high-altitude coverage. 10 Pantsir S-1 short-range systems covered the low-altitude helicopter threat envelope. 6 Tor M1 medium-altitude systems filled the coverage gaps. 4 Khordad 1-5 systems provided additional coverage with passive radar components theoretically capable of detecting low observable aircraft. The facility commander, a major general in the IRGC Aerospace Force, had assessed the combined network as making any air or ground assault against Shahrud beyond realistic capability. American mission planners addressed both assessments simultaneously. 8 F-35A Lightning IIs would penetrate the air defense network in stealth configuration and destroy all 6 Bavar 373 batteries from inside the defended airspace before jamming activated. EA-18G Growlers would then blind remaining systems, while ground teams destroyed the Pantsir, Tor, and Khordad batteries. 4B-2A Spirits would strike the underground storage complex with GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrators, AC-130J Ghost Riders, and A-10C Thunderbolts would provide continuous close air support throughout. 14 days before the operation, 320 Rangers were organized into 7 teams. Alpha team of 70 Rangers would breach the western perimeter and assault the central assembly building, clearing all 4 missile bays. Bravo team of 50 Rangers would destroy the propellant mixing and solid propellant casting facilities with precision demolition charges placed by chemical specialists. Charlie team of 45 Rangers would assault the guidance laboratory, seizing all hard drives, prototype components, and documentation before destroying the infrastructure. Delta team of 40 Rangers would destroy all 10 Pantsir, S-1 and 6 Tor M1 batteries from ground firing positions using Tau and Javelin systems. Echo team of 35 Rangers would neutralize the 4 Khordad 1-5 batteries and suppress the outer perimeter company. Foxtrot team of 45 Rangers would assault the warhead integration building and test stand facility. Ghost team of 35 Rangers would pin the Rapid Reaction Force in their barracks throughout the operation. All teams would initiate at 2:30, with the F-35 strikes beginning at 2:25. 15 days before the operation, the assault force had infiltrated to concealed staging positions 28 kilometers southwest of Shahrud, over 4 nights of low-altitude helicopter insertion and ground convoy movement. 10 MH-60M Blackhawks, 6 CH-47 Chinooks, and 2 MH-6 Little Birds, pre-positioned at 3 concealed landing zones 15 to 20 kilometers from the complex. 6 AH-64E Apaches held at a forward arming point. 2 AC-130J Ghost Riders orbited at altitude 40 kilometers out, sensors already mapping all defensive positions. 4 A-10C Thunderbolts held on ground alert at a forward base 8 minutes flight time away. 4 B-2A Spirits had departed Whiteman Air Force Base 34 hours earlier, approaching their release points over northeastern Iran. 8 F-35, as from the 34th Fighter Squadron at Al Dhafra Air Base UAE, launched 2 hours earlier in stealth configuration toward their weapon release points above the Bavar 373 batteries. 6 EA-18 G Growlers from the USS Harry S. Truman in the northern Arabian Sea orbited ready to jam all Iranian air defense and communications across Semnan province. By 2:15, all 7 teams were in position across the desert floor, observing the complex through thermal optics, confirming guard rotations and vehicle patrol patterns. At exactly 2:25, the 8 F-35 as released their GBU-53 Stormbreaker munitions from inside the Bavar 373 defended airspace, each aircraft releasing 8 weapons in a coordinated salvo. 48 precision munitions fell simultaneously against 6 battery positions across a 30-kilometer arc. Each battery radar vehicle was struck within the same 2-second window, destroying all 6 Bavar 373 batteries before any could detect the stealth aircraft killing them. 5 seconds later, the EA-18G Growlers activated their jamming systems across all Iranian air defense frequencies in Semnan province, Every remaining radar went blind simultaneously. Delta Team opened fire on all 10 Pantsir S-1 systems at exactly 2:30. Tau missiles ripple firing in coordinated sequences against each system's radar and launcher vehicles. Echo Team engaged all 6 Tor, M1 batteries and 4 Cordad, 1-5 systems simultaneously from desert floor firing positions. Within 3 minutes, all Iranian air defense around Shahrud was destroyed. 6 Apache helicopters crossed the complex perimeter from 3 directions at 2:33. Immediately engaging outer perimeter guard towers with Hellfire missiles working systematically around the full 4-kilometer fence line. The 2 AC-130J Ghostriders descended to operational altitude and began precision 30mm and 105mm fires against surface defensive positions. The 4 A-10Cs arrived at 2:38, their GAU-8 Avenger cannons tearing through patrol vehicles and hardened fighting posts across the perimeter. At 2:35, the 4B-2A Spirits released 8 GBU. 5-7 Massive Ordnance Penetrators against the underground storage complex in 2 sequential salvos, 4 seconds apart. The penetrators drove through the reinforced concrete roof and detonated inside the storage chambers. The second salvo struck the same impact points, driving deeper into the compromised structure. The underground storage complex collapsed inward, crushing all 23 stored ballistic missiles. The outer perimeter company lost 40% of its positions in the first 4 minutes, caught simultaneously between Apache fires, AC-130 precision fires, and A-10 strafing runs. Within 16 minutes, the outer perimeter was suppressed, and all assault teams moved on their objectives. Alpha Team breached the western perimeter at 2:46 and crossed 300 meters of open ground toward the assembly building. Ghost Team simultaneously opened fire on the Rapid Reaction Force barracks, an AC-130, placing precision 105mm, fire on the vehicle park, and destroying all transport before any platoon could mount. The reaction force remained pinned throughout the critical first hour. Alpha Team reached the assembly building at 2:54, engaging the second company's 90 soldiers in prepared positions around the structure. Apache gunships made precision gun runs along the northern and southern walls, destroying crew-served weapon positions. After 12 minutes, the building exterior was cleared. Alpha Team breached the entrance and entered all 4 assembly bays. 40 security guards held the interior, using assembly fixtures and missile sections as cover. The team leader ordered controlled semi-automatic fire to avoid the missile components. The assembly building fight lasted 24 minutes, Rangers clearing bay by bay from west to east. When the last defenders were down, all 240 missile engineers surrendered from beneath their workstations. Intelligence specialists moved through all 4 bays, photographing every assembly, drawing, computer workstation, and tooling configuration. Bay 4 with the FATA, 2 hypersonic components received 20 minutes of exclusive documentation before demolition specialists began placing thermite charges on precision tooling throughout all bays. Bravo Team breached the northwestern perimeter at 2:48 and advanced toward the propellant facilities across 400 meters of open ground. The third company's 80 soldiers defended both buildings from prepared positions. Bravo Team engaged with direct fire, carefully avoiding shots toward the buildings. Apache support was restricted to engaging defenders on the northern and eastern sides, away from propellant storage. After 15 minutes, the defenders were overcome. Chemical specialists entered both facilities and placed shaped charges on storage tank connections and distribution piping rather than the tanks themselves, eliminating the propellant production systems without triggering detonation of stored materials. Thermite charges were placed on solid propellant casting equipment throughout the adjacent building. At 4:15, Bravo detonated their charges in controlled sequence, permanently destroying both propellant production facilities. Charlie Team breached the eastern perimeter at 2:50 and moved 500 meters toward the guidance laboratory. 35 4th Company soldiers defended the exterior. 2 Javelin missiles destroyed the 2 armored vehicles, providing direct fire support. After 11 minutes, the exterior was cleared. Charlie Team entered the 3-floor laboratory and found 40 electronics engineers surrendering immediately. Intelligence specialists extracted hard drives from every workstation and photographed every laboratory bench, test equipment configuration, and development document across all 3 floors. Prototype inertial navigation units, terminal guidance seeker heads, and electronic warfare modules were packaged for physical removal. The guidance documentation was assessed within minutes as the most comprehensive picture of Iranian ballistic missile guidance technology ever obtained. After 40 minutes of extraction, demolition specialists destroyed all laboratory equipment with thermite charges floor by floor. Foxtrot team split at the perimeter. Southern element hitting the test stand facility at 3-2, and northern element reaching the warhead integration building at 3-5. The test stand fight lasted 8 minutes. 20 guards neutralized, after which demolition specialists destroyed all test stand instrumentation and hydraulic hold-down systems, permanently disabling both stands. The warhead integration fight lasted 10 minutes against 25 defenders. Inside, 3 complete Khorramshahr and warhead assemblies stood in handling fixtures. Specialists photographed every assembly and seized all integration documentation before placing demolition charges on handling equipment and mating fixtures throughout the building. By 4:45, all 7 objectives were secured across the Shahrud complex. At 5, the demolition order was coordinated across all teams simultaneously. Thermite charges throughout all 4 assembly bays ignited, burning through precision tooling, vertical assembly fixtures, and computer-controlled manufacturing systems across all 4 missile production lines. Warhead integration charges fired next. Guidance laboratory charges detonated floor by floor. Test stand instrumentation charges completed the sequence. At 5:10, all Rangers began evacuating. 320 operators, 240 missile engineers, and 40 additional administrative and security prisoners moved toward the western perimeter breach, carrying all extracted intelligence materials. 16 Rangers had sustained moderate injuries throughout the assault, all mobile. By 5:50, all operators, 280 prisoners, and all extracted materials were clear. 10 Black Hawks, 6 Chinooks, and 2 Little Birds landed 800 meters west of the breach point. All aircraft lifted off by 6:10, descending immediately to low altitude on pre-planned egress routes northeast toward the Caspian corridor. At 6:15, the final demolition order transmitted. The 4B-2A Spirits released their remaining GBU, 5-7 penetrators against the main assembly building roof, 4 weapons, collapsing the central section inward onto the already destroyed assembly equipment below. The 300-meter structure that had taken 11 years to build was reduced to rubble in 4 seconds. The final accounting was precise. Iranian personnel losses totaled approximately 280. American forces reported 16 moderate injuries and no fatalities. 280 prisoners were taken, including 240 missile assembly engineers, 40 guidance specialists, and the IRGC Aerospace Force Major General commanding Shahrud. Complete assembly documentation for the Shahab, Khorramshahr, Sejil, and Fatah, 2 programs was recovered. Prototype guidance and navigation components were physically extracted. 23 ballistic missiles in underground storage were destroyed by B-2 strikes. All 7 facility buildings were permanently destroyed. The nerve center of Iran's ballistic missile program had been eliminated in 4 hours. 320 Rangers supported by F-35 stealth fighters, -B, 2 Spirit bombers, AC-130, Ghost Riders, A-10 Warthogs, and Apache gunships executed every phase without a single operator lost.